In the NFL, it is not at all uncommon, dare I say it's actually guaranteed you're going to have a difference of opinion amongst commentators and analysts. But this one analyst absolutely went way too far with this laughable take, which dare I say is absolutely insane. We're going to talk about it, so stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're diving on in. I'm going to tell you something right now, folks. When it comes to takes that I have heard in the NFL, some people want to call it hot takes, some people want to call it a crazy take. I don't care what the hell you want to call it. The point of the matter is that I have heard my fair share of takes in the entire time I've been on this earth, whether it's been studying football, observing football, playing football, it doesn't matter. I have heard so many different and ludicrous takes that sometimes I have to step back and remind myself that when people make these takes, you have to sometimes take it with a grain of salt, because you truly have to wonder if that's their genuine take or if they're just doing that to either one, spark up ratings, if they're just trying to get attention. You never really know. Well, I can tell you this right now. When it comes to the NFL, there is a very large, wide variety of characters when it comes to said NFL analysts. And I'm going to say this right now. There are definitely certain analysts out there, certain commentators that are a hell of a lot better than others. And for me, I typically go with the opinion, in my not so humble opinion, that the best commentators, the best analysts are those that are usually former players and or coaches. And usually of that, the more successful ones. But when you go even further into this conversation of these quote-unquote top analysts, or rather what I should say, they're not top, they're rather just more, I should say, popular, there's typically a lot of these guys that either, one, don't have any NFL experience, or probably don't even have any football experience, not college, probably maybe played a year or two in high school, who the hell knows. Or they might have NFL experience, but if you take a look at their NFL career, it was so lackluster, it was so pathetically bad that it's not really worth mentioning. And you guys all know what kind of analysts, commentators I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Stephen A. Smiths. I'm talking about the Skip Baylesses, the Colin Cowherds, the Mike Florios, the Dan Orlowskis, the Emmanuel Achos, the Nick Wrights, the Adam Ranks, the Chris Sims. I'm talking about those kinds of fools, because I would be willing to bet you this. If you were to take a look at that entire group of guys I just mentioned, out of the 100% of whatever those guys might decide to put out on the internet or the social media waves, whatever the case might be, maybe about 30 to 40% of the totality of that is maybe a good take. Meaning about 60 to 70% of it is just pure garbage. It's malarkey, it's, horse feathers, whatever term you'd like to put out there. It's just quite literally crap. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. One such analyst, in my opinion, out of that entire group is probably the worst of the bunch. And trying to limit that list down to find that individual is kind of difficult. But ultimately, I said of that whole list, the 4 worst ones are probably Wright, Rank, Sims, and Orlowski. And when you take a look at those 4, the worst of those 4 is without a doubt in my mind Nick Wright. I have heard a lot of Nick Wright's takes, and his are just absolutely just, I don't understand how the hell this guy has got himself a job, because 9 times out of 10, what he says is absolutely just crazy. It has no backing when it comes to freaking statistics. It has no backing when it comes to analytics. Virtually everything he talks about is from an opinion-based point of view, which great, that's fine, you have an opinion. But as the saying goes, everyone has opinions, they all stink. If you're going to try and have an opinion, you better be able to back it up with some facts, analytics, film, whatever the hell you want to go with. And when it comes to Nick Wright, he does none of that. I mean, let's just think about it. Just this year alone, Nick Wright made some of the biggest clown takes out of all time. Nick Wright is a Bears fan, and y'all remember this because we're Lions fans, so we definitely remember this nonsense. This is the same Nick Wright that predicted the Bears would go to the Super Bowl. He predicted or said that Caleb Williams with the Bears was going to be better than Mahomes. He said or insinuated that Caleb Williams would be the next or the new GOAT of the NFL for quarterbacks. And he said that for the NFL, it was going to be easy for Caleb Williams. I'm going to tell you this right now. We're 10 games into the season, and not a damn one of those is even coming close to remotely true. I mean, if you want to talk about getting egg on your face, this guy's got an egg on his face 4 times in one season just because of the ridiculous nonsense he's been spewing. But even though Nick Wright has spent more time being wrong, tongue-in-cheek there, the funny thing about it is that of all the outlandish takes that he has had, that does not even compare to the most recent take he had about the Detroit Lions, which absolutely is unbelievable. I think it was either yesterday or the day before. I can't remember. But recently, Nick Wright made this absolute blunder of a take by stating this. And you realistically, once I say it, you have to wonder if Nick Wright is either of sound mind or if, again, he's just doing this to drum up ratings. Because what Nick Wright said about the Detroit Lions can be summed up into one simple phrase. He's making a comment, he's making a take about the Detroit Lions' chances to win a Super Bowl this year. This is exactly what Nick Wright said. There's 2 quotes, and we're going to talk about them. The first quote is this. He said, "I don't think you can be the best team in the league," and he's talking about the Lions, "when you have a civilian at quarterback." Wait a minute. What the hell? Like, I don't know how to put this, folks, but the sheer stupidity behind that statement is absolutely mind-numbing. First and foremost, what exactly does he mean by a civilian at quarterback? Last time I checked, we're all civilians. Unless, of course, you're in the military, and then you're kind of, the government's property before you're a civilian. But that's something all else together. So using that, kind of, what's the word I would use? Parallel to try and say that a quarterback is pedestrian, mediocre, average, whatever, it's a bad analogy. So that's number one. But the best... how do I say this? The worst thing about it is that rather than just stopping there, Nick Wright literally said, "But wait, there's more." Pretty much the best way I can put it is what he then said absolutely is laughable beyond all measure. Like I said, Nick Wright looks like a clown. And this just absolutely solidifies it. He said, "Jared Goff is great when protected, but has a game like last week," and he's referring to the Houston Texans game, about the 5 interceptions in him. "I can't say this team," and he's talking about the Lions again, "with Jared Goff at quarterback is better than the Chiefs or the Bills. I can't, I won't." Okay. So in essence, what this clown is trying to say here is that he does not believe that the Lions, with Jared Goff at quarterback, are going to be able to beat teams like the Bills or the Chiefs. Now, why exactly is that the case? The reason why is to put some, clarifying background comments here. Remember how he said that Jared Goff was a civilian at quarterback? Well, during the middle of that phrase, which I cut out because it was just a whole bunch of extra fluff that really didn't need to be said, he called guys like Lamar, Mahomes, Allen, he called them superheroes. So he's trying to make the parallel here of guys like those. Those are your superhero quarterbacks. Those are your great quarterbacks. Those are the guys that you can win games with. And that somehow Goff is just your average everyday Joe quarterback who only is made better because he has all this talent around him. So, okay, here. Once we have that understanding, we've put that into context here, here's how I'm going to lead this conversation. First and foremost, I'm not even going to pull a punch on this one. Nick Wright's a damn idiot. I mean, he is a ratings chaser. He's a flip-flopper. He literally has some of the worst arguments that I have ever heard in my life. I mean, to try and say that Jared Goff is a civilian in comparison to these other guys, Lamar, Allen, Mahomes, is such a absolutely terrible take that you all knew I was going to have to say something about it. So just sit back now while I freaking tear this thing apart. Because that's exactly what I'm going to do. I am going to expose Nick Wright for the absolute fraud clown that he is. Let's understand something here, folks. We first and foremost have to go and take a look at how Goff has done not only this year, but in the past couple of years in comparison to all of those guys. So let's think about this. How has Goff done this year? Just from a, generic standpoint, he's done pretty damn well. There's no doubting that one. But just how well has he done compared to Lamar, Josh Allen, and Mahomes? Well, let's take a look at that. Let's first and foremost take a look at Lamar Jackson, who a lot of people want to say is, the front runner to supposedly get, the third MVP in a row. Lamar Jackson's numbers, as I put them up, what you're going to notice is they're pretty damn solid numbers. They're really damn good numbers. But what you're also going to notice is that while he has all of these great numbers and great rankings, he does have some blemishes. His passer rating is not in the his passing completion percentage is not in the top 10. He has 4 losses on his record, which of the 4 quarterbacks we're going to talk about is the worst of the bunch. And yes, while he does have some pretty nice accomplishments as far as, 80 plus completion percentage games, 125 plus passer rating games, and so on and so forth, again, it's not the best of the bunch. So, okay, that's Lamar. What about Josh Allen, who some people are now saying has become the favorite because of how he played against Mahomes on, Sunday night or Sunday afternoon, whatever way you want to put it. This is Josh Allen's numbers. Again, he's got some pretty solid numbers. But again, notice how out of all of the passing, rankings that he has, he's only got one that of, not one. He's got 2 that are actually inside top 10. The rest of them are outside of top 10, and in fact, one of them's outside of top 20, and that's the completion percentage. And of the accomplishments that I just talked about with Lamar Jackson and put up on the screen, he's got even less than that. So, okay, Josh Allen has worse overall quality stats than Lamar Jackson, and he has less of those quality kind of games in terms of the numbers that I had as accomplishments for Lamar. So, okay, that's Josh Allen, that's Lamar Jackson. Well, what about Patrick Mahomes this year? Patrick Mahomes, dude, you can say what you want about him, but this year he has been an absolute freaking, disaster of a quarterback. He's been absolute ass. You take a look at his numbers. He quite literally is only got, again, 2 top 10 categories, but his passer rating is in the 20s. His freaking passing yards per average in the 20s. His passing yards is outside of top 10. I mean, the only thing about his numbers that even looks remotely good is the pass completion percentage. The fact that he has 15 touchdowns to 11 interceptions and supposedly is the best quarterback in the NFL, again, I don't buy that for a damn minute. So that's all 3 of them. What about Jared Goff? I'll put the numbers up on the screen and you guys can all tell me. Goff, quite literally, out of all the quarterbacks I just talked about, Lamar, Josh Allen, Mahomes, he is the only quarterback of the 4 that every single measurable passing, ranking is top 10, every single one of them. Jared Goff is the only one that not only has a 158 plus, have 158.3 passer rating game, so a perfect passer rating game, he also has a perfect completion percentage game. He is freaking got the most 80-plus completion percentage games of the whole bunch. He is tied with Lamar for the most 125-plus passer rating games. And he is just one short of Lamar in terms of 100-plus passer rating games. But, oh, that's right. Of the whole bunch, freaking he's only played 10 games. And the only other one that's played 10 games like him is Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes doesn't even come close to him. So, all right. Just from the 2024 statistical analysis, comparison, whatever way you want to call it, Jared Goff absolutely destroys everybody else. The only one that can come close to him is Lamar, and even Lamar does not come that close. So, okay, as a quarterback, Jared Goff spanks all of them. But wait a minute here. If you're going to be a superhero, you should have some cred. You should have some credibility that's been built up over the years, right? So I decided to ask myself, I said, okay, how do all four of these quarterbacks look if we take a look at them since 2022? We're going to do the same thing we just did for the 2024 season standalone. Take a look at Lamar from 2022 onwards. Again, pretty damn solid numbers. He's got a division title. He also has an AFC Conference Championship game appearance. He's 1-1 in the playoffs during that time frame. He's got some pretty good rankings also on said numbers. So, okay, Lamar's doing pretty well for himself. And as we know, he's, won an MVP award within that time frame. So it's like, okay, Lamar Jackson has done pretty well for himself. Okay, what about Josh Allen? Again, you take a look at Josh Allen's numbers. Again, they're pretty damn solid. He's got a lot better numbers comparatively over the overall time span of 2022 to now than his overall year so far in 2024. He's got 2 division titles. He has not been to an AFC Conference Championship game, unlike Lamar Jackson. And he's got a playoff record of 2-2. So he's been to the playoffs more times, had more playoff games, but he has not made it to the conference championship game in this time frame from 2022 to now. So, okay, Josh Allen's done pretty good. Now, Patrick Mahomes here, this is where he shines in comparison to his 2024 season. Patrick Mahomes has top 10 numbers in all single rankings for the period of time that we're talking about here. He's got 2 division titles. He's got 2 Super Bowl wins. He also has a 7-0 record in the playoffs. So it's like, okay here. Patrick Mahomes, if we take a look at the broader span of work and not just the singular season of 2024, he looks like a damn superhero, as Nick Wright would point out. Okay, so what about Goff since 2022? Again, take a look at Goff's numbers. He is, again, top 10 in all single statistical categories. But in fact, here's where it gets really weird. Or rather, not weird for me, but weird for guys like Nick Wright. Except for the pass completion percentage, Jared Goff is top 5 in all categories. Jared Goff has a division title with the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff has been to an NFC Conference Championship game with the Detroit Lions. Oh, and by the way, Jared Goff is also got a positive or, greater than 500 win-loss record in said playoffs. So wait a minute here. Goff has a better record in the playoffs than both Lamar and Josh Allen. Goff has been to a conference championship game, unlike Josh Allen, since 2022. And Jared Goff has won playoff games and a division title with the Detroit Lions, of all teams in the NFL. Okay, but somehow, Jared Goff is just your average day, everyday Joe. He's not a superhero like Lamar or Josh or freaking Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to tell you this right now. To us Detroit Lions fans, as, Dan Campbell would say, you're good enough for freaking Detroit, Jared Goff. And to put it in another way, I guarantee you this. Jared Goff is a superhero to the freaking, Detroit Lions faithful. I'm telling you this right now. For what Jared Goff has done for the city of Detroit as far as the Lions is concerned, if he wins a Super Bowl, hell, even gets to a Super Bowl, they're going to put up a statue of him right next to frickin' Barry. I have no doubt about that in my mind. But wait a minute here. Let's just, again, take a look at all the data I just put out there. 2024 season stats for all 4 quarterbacks. 2022 onward for all quarterbacks. And let's compare and, contrast freaking everyday average Joe Jared Goff to the supposed superheroes that, Nick Wright has. Which, I'm going to give you all a little spoiler here. Nick Wright is a damn liar. He lies through his damn teeth. Because again, he doesn't do his research. He just decides to say whatever comes out of his mouth from his brain, and there's no filter in the middle. Because again, as I was pointing out throughout the entire process, Jared Goff is the only quarterback of the 4 in 2024 that has top 10 rankings in every single category. So from that standpoint, he's better. Goff is the only quarterback this year to post both a perfect passer rating game and a perfect completion percentage game, which I can tell you this right now, that has never happened in NFL history. Jared Goff also leads the league this year in freaking, what am I trying to say here? He leads the league this year of all quarterbacks with freaking 150 plus passer rating games. He has 3 of them. The next closest is Lamar Jackson with 2. Goff is also tied out of all quarterbacks this year for having the most fourth quarter comebacks. He's got 3. So wait a minute here. If you want to talk about a superhero name, you can say that Jared Goff is freaking Captain Comeback. He's Joe Cool because, that's right, when the pressure gets amped up, he remains cool under pressure. He finds ways to win by bringing his team back to win. But wait a minute. There's more. Let's move on here. Out of all 4 quarterbacks that I've talked about, Jared Goff is the only one from the NFC. Because all 3 other quarterbacks, Allen, Lamar, and Mahomes, they're all AFC quarterbacks. Goff is the only one from the NFC. And then furthermore, alongside Mahomes, as I said, he's the only one since 2022 that has top 10 rankings in all passing categories. But what separates him from Mahomes in that is that, like I said, Goff is literally 1 freaking rank spot removed from being top 5 in all of them. The only area he falls out of top 5 is incompletion percentage, and he's literally off by that much. He's ranked number 6 rather than 5. So let that tell you just how damn freaking good Goff has been for the last 2.5, now going on 3 years. And then finally, here's the one thing that's going to really destroy Nick Wright's argument. Jared Goff has numbers that are very freaking close to Patrick Mahomes. So close, in fact, think about this one. Wrap your brain on this one. Chew on it. Jared Goff has 127 less passes thrown than Patrick Mahomes. But yet, even though he has 127 less passes thrown, Goff is only 333 yards behind Mahomes to have the most since 2022. And he's only 5 passing touchdowns behind Mahomes to have the most passing touchdowns since 2022. So wait a minute here. Even though Goff has thrown almost 130 passes less, he's literally right there neck and neck with Mahomes. Not pretty bad for an everyday average Joe, wouldn't you say? And let's just put this into perspective here. That everyday average Joe quarterback that Jared Goff is, he's the only quarterback in the NFL right now that has a perfect record against Patrick Mahomes. He's the only quarterback that's 2-0 against Mahomes. Mahomes has never been able to beat Goff. That's a rather interesting coincidence now, isn't it? So, if we simply use our brains here and put the entire sum of logic, the entire sum of data that I've put out, there is no way in hell that you could make this argument that Nick Wright is making without looking like, for lack of a better word, a complete jackass. It's beyond obvious that Jared Goff is a quote-unquote superhero type quarterback. I mean, for crying out loud, Jared Goff has not only the ability to be that quarterback, but he also has proven he's already had the ability. Jared Goff's already been to a Super Bowl. And the way he's playing right now is better than he's ever played in his entire NFL career. So he's not only capable of getting to a Super Bowl, he's capable of winning one. So Think about it, folks. Goff is playing at a level right now in 2024 that has never been seen before by any of the other former greats in the NFL. Not Tom Brady, not Joe Montana, not Peyton Manning. I don't care what quarterback you throw out there. No quarterback is playing at the level that Goff is playing right now, not only from a statistical perspective, but also from an efficiency perspective. That's number one. Number two, Goff is literally the only quarterback in NFL history who can say that he's not only helped make the Detroit Lions of all teams into a Super Bowl favorite, but he literally had the Lions within a literal whisker of going to the Super Bowl last year against the San Francisco 49ers. And here's the one other thing. Goff is literally, and I mean this, literally, like every other time I've used that word, only one of 10 active quarterbacks in the NFL that's even been to a Super Bowl. And of those 10 quarterbacks, only 9 of them are starters, Goff being one of them. So, Nick Wright, I'm just going to put this out there. While the basis of your entire, statement is based on solely nothing more than your opinion, I'm going to tell you this right now. When you actually do your research, when you actually take a look at the facts, when you actually do some logical analysis, it's pretty easy to dismantle, destroy, and demolish your argument. And let me put it to you this way. If the biggest reason for your opinion being that Jared Goff is an average, everyday Joe quarterback is simply because he's not flashy and makes these big, spectacular plays like freaking, Josh Allen or Mahomes, or he's not freaking mobile and athletic like Lamar, then let me ask you this question. Who are the greats before freaking Mahomes? Oh, that's right. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Joe Montana. All three guys less than athletic than what by today's comparison should be. They were all pocket passers, but yet Jared Goff has proven he has more athleticism than all those guys had. Jared Goff has proven he has not only the same amount of accuracy, but better than all those guys had. And on top of that, Jared Goff is playing better from an efficiency perspective than all those guys ever did in any one of their single seasons. Because I'm going to tell you this right now. As I said, no quarterback in NFL history has ever had a perfect passer rating game and a perfect completion percentage game in the same damn season. So, Nick Wright, I'm going to tell you this right now. You be wrong. You be ridiculously wrong. And it's time you acknowledge it. And it's time you learn to shut your mouth when you want to talk about stuff that you clearly do not know what you're talking about. It's that damn simple. You're a clown. You made a stupid statement. It's time you own it. Having said that, I'm going to finish this podcast and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these 3 things: like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, I want to highly encourage y'all, please, to make sure you not only subscribe if you forgot to do so, but also, please, make sure you hit that bell notification icon so that way you guys never miss any more content I push out. I also encourage y'all, please, to share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share here on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you can possibly do it, so that way we can have a greater reach and spread for the channel to bring in new content viewership. And with that, I hope that everybody that watched this content, whether you're a new time viewer or this is your upteenth time you viewed me, I hope you got something out of it. I hope you enjoyed it. I also hope that everyone has something in their life that makes them happy, makes them smile. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.